Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear
Yes,
you. Good morning,
good
Mr.
morning.
Leguma.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Good.
Yeah, thank you for being here again. It is another week for our series of STATA trading. And today is going to be, I think, our fourth meeting. Yes, after phase 2 of introduction. And the last one, we started with the data import. And in order to work with data, first of all, you must have data in place. So we have covered different techniques of capturing data, and we saw how we can import STATA native data by using use function. We saw also how we can import example data by using SOS use command. Also, we saw how we can import web data by using web use command. And also we saw how we can import CSV data and text data by using import.delim, import delimited command. And also we have seen how we can import SPSS data by using import XPSS. And lastly, we have seen how we can import Excel data by using import Excel. And the last thing which we did last week is how we can capture multiple data into STATA memory by using the frame approach. Because traditionally in STATA, you could be able to open or to just have one data file in STATA memory. But the use of frame enable you to deal with multiple data, all of them be captured in STATA memory without a loss. And we see a number of commands from frame create, frame change, frame dir, up to the rest. So the rest is practice. And ideally, the STATA data import was to capture the data from external source, and that could be either data available in your local disk or data available from website into STATA memory. Now, today, what we are going to do is the opposite now. We take your data from STATA memory back to file, which will be located to local disk. So we know that you can import data, you do all the processing, and once you are done, in order to have your final output or final answer, you cannot share your data while it is still in STATA memory. So you have to export it to external source, be it in a STATA format itself or any other format like SPSS and SPSS Excel, so that once it is available in your local disk, you can have that file. Either you can put it to your flash, you can attach it to email, you can share with your colleague, but the action is impossible if you leave data into STATA memory. So that's why export is important as much as import, although the secondary one. So here now, a little bit of introduction of data export. So data export simply refers to the process of saving data from STATA software memory to external file for storage and sharing purpose. That is it. So the first thing you do is to import data. And after importing data, you do all your manipulation and descriptions commands, which we are going to start learning them from the next session. And once you are done with all those, the last action to preserve wherever you have done in terms of data is export that file. So the same files which you have imported and the formats, now we can take from STATA memory back to export. As a practice, just like each import command were accompanied with a comma clear, which was to remove the existing data in memory before we capture the new one. Here, the export, all of them will be accompanied with this option replace, which is to remove the data file in your local disk before we export the new one. So always remember that export will be accompanied with replace, while import will be accompanied with clear. What are we going to do today? We are going to export our data or save our data into STATA data file. We are going to export them into SPSS. We'll export them to CSV, to text, to Excel. But also, we are going to learn about the use of log files, which use a similar idea of exporting, although it is for results instead of data. And lastly, we'll conclude with the issue of global path, which now will cement the idea of managing files instead of using traditional change directory. So this is it. So here we are going to start instantly with the saving data into STATA file. So number one, I will open the do file for today's session, which is data export. Data export, capacity building. Day 04. Data export. It is June. So number one is to set our working directory. So I'll go back here to my practice data, and I'll capture this to set my working directory. Working directory. And after that, I can say dir to see my files. So there we are. There we are. So number one, in order to export data, you must have data in memory. That is a condition. Because we are exporting data from STATA memory to external file. Condition of exporting condition for exporting is to have data in a STATA memory. So now here, how do you acquire data or have data in STATA memory? We have learned this, how we can import data. So it doesn't matter about whichever techniques which you have used. Either you use web use, or you have used SOS use, or you have used use, you use import SPSS, you use import Excel, you use import CSV, import delimited. It doesn't matter. The issue is, do you have data in memory? That is the condition. So to start here, I will capture data from my working directory here. For example, I'm going to use this EAC_8 since that is since that one is a STATA file. So simply I can capture it by using the function use. So the file has no space. Since it has no space, you can simply call it by using the function use, comma clear. Remember that may be required to use quotes the moment your file contains space. So as for the time being, I have my data in memory, as you see them here. I have the data here in memory, although this data has got only numeric data. Let me ignore this. Let me use the auto data. SOS use auto 2, clear. As I said, you can capture your data in any form. So we'll practice our export by using this data. So we are going to export this data into multiple formats. So number one, this data is example data, which is captured within STATA software. Now I want it to be available in my local disk. So number one, where is the location of exported data? Location of exported data will be current working directory. So you want to know where your data files will go. Your data files will go into this path, or you can read it down here. As in my case, they will go to drive E, capacity building, 35 STATA training from basic to advanced, beginner level, practice data. This is the address which I can use to locate my files. So like that. So let us start with the first one. Saving. You can say saving or exporting data to STATA. This is possible by using the function called save. The function save, this one, will enable you to save your data into STATA format. There is another function for save old. If you want to save them in old format, you can specify the version here, like version 11 to 16, while the default is 13. Why do we also have save old? I will clarify this because STATA has one problem. If I save my file in STATA version 17, someone with lower versions like 16, 15, 13 will not be able to open that file. they will have error that you require a higher version to save this file, to open this file. So in such kind of scenario, STATA introduced another save, which is save audio. It will come. Now, as you can remember, how do we write a basic command? Basic command for this case is just to save, because file name and the save options, all these are enclosed within square brackets. So simply, wherever data in memory, I can just put save. And here's the basic command. And not only save, even this save, I can short it, write it in short form by writing SA. We learned about the underline. So simply I can write save, and the STATA will use the default name, invalid specification, sorry. Check if something's wrong. STATA, I think it cannot work for, this file which comes from system memory. Let me check if I use this file here, what will happen. Invalid file specification. Okay, I will ignore that, because according to syntax, it means you can just write save. But when I do it here, I don't see the output. The standard is to make sure you put a file name. And there you have 7 options, and I'll just use replace, only replace. So if I use replace, number 1, I'll do it without replace. So I prefer to say this is data 1, DTA, although even if you don't put a DTA, STATA will still save it in STATA format, because save is only used for STATA. So this is number 1. So my file is there. When I go to my working directory, you will find that data, it is here. You'll find this data. Now the problem is, if I want to rerun this code, if I want to rerun this command, the moment I do this, STATA will give error that my data1.dta file has already existed. So if you are running the entire do file, the do file will stop at this line. The moment do file encounter error, then it will stop there. It will not continue to run the other commands. So what is the solution? In order to avoid such kind of error, always add the command replace. So this is going to be our standard practice wherever I use the command for exporting data. So here now, the same thing, but you can run without the error. So the essence of adding replace is to avoiding error during execution of our do file, wherever the file is already existing. If it is not there, it will just give you the statement, no file so and so, but saved. Like in this case, if I save the same thing using my data2, for example, data2. Since my data2, it was not there, it will start with this statement. File my data2 not found, but it will continue with the process of saving. So it is always safe to add a replace after data exporting command. So this is saving data to STATA. On top of that, saving STATA, saving data to lower version. to lower versions of STATA. How? You can recall here, we have seen this save old, file name, and then save options. Here version. You will specify from version 11 to 16. Default is version 13. So if I just say, I just put this save old, my STATA 3. STATA 3, save to STATA 13 version. And this is what we call default. So here, if I save it like this, in my project file, you'll find this is STATA just like others. But number one, you can see the size. This size is even low, 7 KB. But also, it means someone with STATA 16, STATA 15, STATA 13 can be able to open this file. But someone with STATA 12 cannot, because this is a higher version compared to STATA 12. And like this, you can quantify the options as you are allowed to save version 16 to 11 to 16. So here you will take this option version. You can write the whole thing version, but also you are allowed to shorten the command. You can just write V or VE or VER up to last. Since we are learning, I'll prefer to write the whole thing like this. So here I will put a version 15. STATA, this one should be top here. Save to STATA 15 version. So like this, you are, sorry, now this I should put it as 4 to differentiate them. So as for this one now, you have seen that you have STATA 13, you have STATA 15. So for STATA 15, for this version, which means my data 4, someone with STATA 15 onwards, say 16, upwards 16, 17, 18, 19 can open this file. But someone with STATA 14 cannot. So this is all about saving. You can also do this by using drop-down menu, but I will not entertain this. You can use this save button and try to locate where you want to put your data, something like that. But I will not go there. I will keep using command-based version. Now, only STATA will use the function save. We'll use the function save to export data into STATA format. The rest will start with the export, and then modifier will come, just like when we are doing import. So number 2 here, export data to SPSS and dot SAV format. To STATA.bta format. How should you do that? Remember, we still have the same data in memory. This one. Now we are taking it to SPSS. This one require at least STATA 17. For importing, the requirement was at least STATA 16. But for exporting, STATA 16, you can be able to import SPSS, but you cannot be able to export. STATA 13 backwards, you cannot import or export. But from STATA 17 now, you can import SPSS files and you can also export. And that is the advantage of using a most recent version. So here, our data in memory, I will say export, then SPSS. Before that, as usual, I'd like it to start with help, export SPSS. Since this command is related with import, they will always come together. But my intention is here, export. I will use this. The basic command is export SPSS using is enclosed with a square bracket. So if we are importing the entire file, you can ignore this. But when you want to import a specific number of variables, using is mandatory. But I'll never use this one because you can always remove unwanted variables once you import. So the basic command comprises three things: export SPSS and file name. The rest are option. But as I said earlier, I will always use replace to avoid error. So as in this case, I'll take the same data and say export SPSS. What I will call it my data 5. My data 5, comma, sorry, compatibility of extension is very important, comma, replace. So like this, when I go here, you'll find the SPSS file format. So now why exporting is very important, because when it comes to sharing the data, you may have data in STATA because you're conversant with STATA, but your colleague, he or she is not. Maybe she's conversant with SPSS. So still the work can go on, can move on by exporting the same file to SPSS, and your colleague also can enjoy the processing of data with you, even without having without having a common knowledge of without having a knowledge of common software. So that is it. So it is just like simple like that to export it to SPSS. We don't have much from there. Then export to CSV. Number 3 is export data to CSV. And this is .csv format. Maybe I could open this for you to see that the same data now is available in SPSS. Yeah. I double click that one while I'm waiting for that. The rest will find them here in notes. I need it to open. Yeah. The files. Export. Yes, the rest will find them here from notes. They are there. Now let us go to CSV. In CSV, you will export it by using the function called delimited. And delimited, this will export data with the commas. So while I'm waiting for SPSS, I will continue. So here I'll say export delimited. Export delimited. What? I'll call this my data 6 dot CSV, comma, replace. Data 6 CSV, comma, replace. Now the spaces is here. Yes, you can see that data now is here in SPSS format. So someone who is a good user of the SPSS can proceed from here. So this is what I wanted to show you. So for CSV, you just need to use delimited.csv. And if I go back, I will find my data is here, CSV. If you double click this, it will open just like in Excel. So the better way to open CSV is either to use WordPad or Notepad. So for me, I will use the WordPad here. So you can see why is it called CSV. From one data value to another, they are separated by comma, unlike in spreadsheet format where the data value is captured in cell. So why this? Because this system is user-friendly to computers to pass, to read this data. The cell system is user-friendly to human brain, but for computer, it is like this. So assume the same data, you want to upload it somewhere. The most compatible format is either to have data in CSV or to have them in text format. As for human user, we normally don't read this unless if you want to capture this, convert them to STATA, and then proceed from there. So you can use the WordPad to open it, but you also have a room of using Notepad. Notepad. So these two can all open such kind of file. You see the comma, that's why it is called comma separated value, CSV, because of that comma from one data to another. So when there is missing, you'll see two commas consecutively. And let me check somewhere. It is difficult to see. Check if I find these two commas. Yes, like this. So it means between these commas, here the data is missing data. That is the scenario which you will always encounter when you export it to CSV. So as usual, I forget to start with the help export delimited. Help export delimited. So here, I will go to export part. You see export delimited file name, then you put delimited options. Among the options is to put replace, which I have used. As for the rest, I'm going to show you in a few moments. Help will also show you the way you can do the same process by using menu. So by using menu, go to file, then import, then text data, so and so. So this help will help you in both menu, export, so you follow the procedure. So always you can use help to get the full path of what we can achieve from there. So that is for the side of exporting to CSV. The other thing is export to text. Export data to text. To text, which is .txt. Just like a CSV, text data. Oh, here there is a mistake. I needed to change this. This is supposed to be exported delimited. I forgot to update this part. So before I share, I will update that one. Text file is also a delimited, just like in CSV. But instead of separating one value with the other value, one value from another value with comma, here it uses a space. That is the default. Or it can use any other character. The meaning of this is character. So you can specify any other character here, like maybe semicolon or hyphen or underscore. It doesn't matter. Which one have you chosen as delimiter? We'll see a few examples from here. So from one observation, from one value to another, they are separated by tabs. So by default, it's like that. So how should you do this? Here I'll put delimited my data 7.txt. Let me put it firstly, like in this form. And I'll write a comment here, still in CSV format. So when I do this, when I go to my data, yes, you will see the icon, the text form. It is in text format. But when I open this, the values are still separated by comma and not space as per our requirement. So the only thing which happened there is to change the extension, but this is still a CSV because the data are separated by using comma. So what should you do now? You should always use this option here, which is called delimiter. You can write it in short form as delim. In delimiter here, you have two choices. Either you can use the tab or you can use any other character. Tab will insert a space. So for space delimited, this one now, I'll copy this. I'll put this as data 8, and I'll go back to copy that option. Remember the use of pipe. We can either use character or tab, but not both. We covered this when we are doing, or we are going through data help. So we cannot use both, but we'll specify one among these. So I'll remove the first one. So this one is space delimited. From one value to another, the data will be separated by space. The data will be separated by space. So if I go back here, now I'll find that my data is no longer separated with a comma, but rather there is a standard space from one data value to another. That is space delimited. What if I want to use any other delimited? If I want to use any other delimited, now I'm supposed to put quotes, as you see here from help. And the meaning of char is not to write char. You remember that when you see anything which is italicized, it means that is a substitute. It is a placeholder. You didn't know to put the appropriate things there. Like in this case, char, it means my delimiter, maybe I want them to be separated by semicolon. semicolon delimited, like that. You can put a 9 here. If I export this, now, you open data 9, you'll see now from one value to another, they have separated by semicolon instead of just a comma, which is default, or space. And you can change that to any character of your choice. Like you can say, I need mine to be separated by hyphen. So whatever character you put here, even if you put a letter, maybe capital A or at or wherever, like let me put this at. Whatever character you put it there, it is the one which is going to be used as a delimiter. It is the one which is going to be used as a delimiter. So put anything. So what you see here, it means this at is a delimiter. Just like that. So that is about exporting to text format. Exporting to text format. What else do we have? Continue with, I think now we are heading to Excel. Excel is a file with the extension of .xlsx or xls. And as usual, something's wrong here. I need to update this before I share. This, they need to occupy 2 different lines. I will update that one. So as usual, start with the help, export data to Excel format, to Excel, .xlsx format. So I'll start with the help, export Excel. Export Excel. So they will always come in pair. So the same, the standard or the basic command is to write export Excel file name. But as usual, I will accompany mine with the replace option. We'll see the use of other 3 options as well. We'll see the other 3 options. The rest, you can use them later once you become good with the use of STATA software. So number 1, I'll just say here export Excel. Export Excel. Export Excel to what? My file name should be my data 11.xlsx. If you want XLS, put XLS. But the updated version is the XLSX. As usual, I will accompany my command with the replace. The problem with this, let us see this. If I just use basic syntax command, when I go to open my Excel file, Excel will always ignore the variable names. As you see here, we just have A, B, C, and what we had from the original data, the names make, price, MPG, they are not captured. They are not captured. So here, the problem is no variable names. No variable names. So if I want to add variable names, add variable names, first row of Excel exported file. What should you do? Here, now the use of these options. Among these options, there is this option here written first row, variables or var labels. And also take note of this. The first row, you can shorten it as first. The variables, you can shorten it as var. The var labels, you can shorten it as var-l. Because we'll find this practice when I put it here, so do not get confused. Sometimes I write first row, sometimes I just write first, so for you to see it. So still all those are valid syntax. So number one, from STATA, we have these two things here. You have variable names like this, and you have variable labels. Since Excel accepts naming with space, you can decide you can either use variable names as your column names for first row or variable labels. And here I'll do both. Use variable names for first row. So I'll take the same thing here to solve that problem. So I can just go back and copy that command or that option. I'll copy the whole thing. For learning, I'll write the whole thing. And I'll put it down here. And also put it here. So for the time being, I will use variable names. So I'll modify this to 12. And the other one, I will use variable labels. This one. I will use variable labels. I'll call this 13. Using variable labels for first row. So if I export this, I execute this together. If I execute this together, you will find that now, what is my data 12? My data 12, unlike my data 11, those variable names I exported as first row of Excel, because remember, heading for Excel, I always standard A, B, C up to last. So here, we have used those variable names as they really appear here in data, but also can use labels. So what you see here, I can say from my data 13, instead of using names, now you see here we have those labels: make and model, mileage, MPG. What is the source of those? They come from here: make and model, price, mileage, MPG, repair and records up to last. If it happens that in label option it is empty, even if you command variable labels, STATA will go back and pick variable name. So for empty labels, STATA will go back and replace that option with the name. So that is the standard of how you can export your data to Excel. So the other issue now is, how can I export data to multiple sheets? How can I export data to multiple sheets? To export data to multiple sheets, it means each time you have to change your data set in memory. Here I will start with the traditional method. And then I will switch to the frame concept which we have covered last week. So number one, my current data in memory is auto data. Is auto data. So here, for example, we'll say export data to multiple Excel sheets. Export data to multiple Excel sheets. So the current one, the condition is as follows. What is the condition? The condition is you will use the same Excel file name, but we'll just keep changing the sheet name. So you'll need it to update now to make use of the following option, sheet. We are going to make use of the following option, which is sheet. So I'll put there our sheet name. Within sheet, you can also use the option either modify or replace, although I will recommend I will keep use replace. So that is what we are going to see here in a short while. So number one, the existing data is auto data. So I'll do it like this. I'll copy this one because I want to use my variable names. Since I'm adding so many options, now I'd like to shorten these options. For first row, just write first. For variables, I'll just write var. This is typical the same as this one. And here I will put my data 14. And now here I will add sheet. And I'll put a sheet name here. Like in this case, this is auto data. Let me write it as auto. I'll write it as auto. So when I go back to open this, this is just first sheet. And the sheet now is named as auto. Now, if I wanted to export another one, so I should add another data to memory. Add another data to STATA memory. Like I can now call the data called birth, for example. There is data called birth.dta from my memory. Birth. The other one I called by using SOSUs, now I call birth. So now I have another data in memory here. So this now I wanted to put it in the same Excel workbook. Remember that my workbook is open. If I write my command in this form, I'll be in trouble. Why? Because STATA will not have room to update the opened Excel workbook. Let us do this. You'll see that error, and then I'll remove that one. So here, this data is birth. So my sheet name will be called birth. Remember, I'm maintaining the same name of Excel workbook, but I'm updating the sheet name. And here you will encounter one problem, which I have said it down here. Replace command. Check this out. The first one, replace, was come just after comma, but the other one, replace, is removed from there and placed after sheet name. What is the problem if I keep use replace in this position? This one. Replace incorrectly specified. Replace is incorrectly correctly specified. Why? Because if I do it here, what STATA will do will overwrite the previous file. You can remember that from previous my data 14, we had the sheet called auto, but you will never see it here. Sorry, I think I have to use this one. I have to call data in memory first. So now my data 14, you see it, you no longer have sheet, you no longer have auto. What STATA does, it went to remove this command, cleared this workbook, the whole workbook, and then start afresh. So the only sheet available is this one. So what is the standard approach? Standard approach. Number one, let us call data in memory. So yes, use auto2, clear. Now I'll use data 15 to show you that. I'll change the workbook name, 15. So the first time you write your workbook, just use this replace. The first sheet, for the very first sheet, just use that replace. So because always when you update, it will start afresh. But for the second sheet, like this one, after updating another data, we call this auto, we put it to auto sheet. My file name is my data 15. Now I call another data set. This replace, if we leave it here, it will replace the entire workbook. And for us, we just need to update the worksheet. So for this, we put it here. And it is not allowed to use both. To use replace here and replace here. It will give you error. If I run this, you will see. Invalid option. Replace may not be combined with option replace. So use one of the two. So if I specified it there, don't put it here. For this one, then I can update this form. So like this, now would not be saved. It is 15. Now my command, all my commands are okay. If I open this 15, now you see both. I have auto sheet here for the auto data. I have birth sheet here for the birth data. Even if you have 100, you keep loading the data, then export, maintain the same Excel workbook, just need to update the sheet name. Because if we use the same sheet name, it will overwrite the existing data. So this is a standard approach, but traditional. This is traditional. Because what? Each time we need to load data. The recommended approach, standard approach, recommended, which is a frame. Recommended. This one, you just need to load multiple data to create a frame. So number one, I'll start with frame set. Clear. This one will clear all existing frames. This is the purpose of this function. So I don't want anything there. So it will clear everything, including the current data. We have nothing here. So what now? So I started by creating frame. So frame create. Then I give it a frame name. You can put it wherever, but you can just say, you can name it based on the data. Like here, I can use the caps auto because my intention is to capture auto data. And I will also, once you create a frame, I'll say here frame. I'll use frame, and then I'll put the name of the frame. After that, I put a full colon, and then I write my syntax of capturing auto data. So yes, use auto 2, clear. I'm done with the first frame. The second frame, maybe I want to call this birth. How do I import birth data? I use this syntax here. And the last one, for example, I can call it health. Health. And I can import the frame with health. I'll say import delimited because my data is in CSV format, dir. I have health data. It is somewhere here, CSV. So you can use any data importation technique, clear. All these are clear, now replace clear. Clear, supposed to be clear, not replace. So here I start with the frame reset, and when I do this, what you're going to see, you'll see nothing here. Because all data now I have captured them into frame. I have captured them into frame. What will this do? This is the default. This will hold the data which I can capture without a frame, because right now, if I say frame dir, it will list all frame. Auto contain automobile data, birth contain birth data, health contain this health data, but the default do not have data. So what actually is the default? Default will hold the data which I use without loading it to frame. Like if I load any data here, this is the list of frames, while this is the list of data files in current directory. But by default, if I write a command now, what is the default frame? PWF default frame. So the default frame is the one which is the default, and currently don't have data. Let me load another data to current frame, like SOS use NLSW88, clear. You see it here. I didn't load this through frame, but rather it will go directly to the current default frame. So when I say once more frame dir, you see even default has the data. So here I have 4 data sets at par, but the current one is in frame called default, and it is the NLSW88. So if I want to practice export from here, export data to multiple Excel files. If I just do it like this, I say export Excel, export Excel, export Excel. I must know the name of the data. Export Excel, this will be 16. Since this is the first, the replace will come here. And here now, I will put the file name. My default is this one, NLSW88. So I'll put the name here, NLSW88. So that is my first to be exported. Now, if I want to export any other frame, I have two options. Number one, I can just say now, I can use this approach frame, like here, frame auto. After frame auto, now I write this, my export Excel. Export this data from this frame, it is auto data. Now this replace needed to go, because this is the second sheet, this replace will come here. And also, I will just keep changing these frames. Remember, I also have the frame birth. I have the frame birth, and I have the frame health. So from birth data, I can name my data as birth. And from health data, I can name my data as health. So I can execute all this at once without going back, importing data, because all of them are in STATA memory, all at once. So you see here, you have NLSW, you have auto here, you have birth, you have health, without going back to load the data. That is the first approach. First approach. If you don't like this of using these full columns, then put the export issues. You can use this second approach. And that is, I will import the default. I will use 17. I will export the default, which is this one. When you browse here, you see the default. And you can even see it from here. Once you are there, you switch the frame. You come here and say frame change. You change the frame. Now you want the auto to be default. Now you want the auto to be default. Now you'll find that here you have auto. So since the auto is there as a default, then you just pick this. You don't need to start with that one. So you'll keep doing it like this. Keep doing it like this. This is 17. Frame change from auto to birth and to health. So here now, instead of auto, here you'll have birth And here you'll have health. So if I do this frame change Beth, you'll find that now the default is no longer that one, but it is Beth. So if I run this command, it will capture the active frame. If I change to health, you'll find this. It is no longer that Beth, but another data. So this one, if I say export, it will capture health data. The question is, what if I want to go back to that original data, which is NLSW88, because we didn't load this to frame. So remember this, frame dir, frame dir. So for frame dir, the name of default is always called default. You don't put this name, it is always there. So if you don't want to go back to this, also you need to use frame change, and then you put this name. Switch to original default. Switch to native default. The native default. Now if you do this, you'll find that you went back to that NLSW88. So like this, we export this, it means what I did with the NLSW816 here, you can also have it in 17. So the same thing, it's just the same thing with a different test. So this is data export. We have exhausted all kinds of files, of data files. What now is to navigate to exporting results into log files. But before I proceed, if there is anyone with question needed to be clarified somewhere, this is your time before I move on. Kama kuna swali kabla sijaendelea na log file na global path. Seems it's okay. Maybe we'll have them at the end. So here, similar to the concept of exporting, also you can export results window content to the file called the log file. The log file is a text file which captures everything that appears in results window. Why do we need a log file? We have several reasons. Number one, STATA results window has a display limit. If you are running too many commands, you cannot have the room to view everything. Like here, since we have started, we may not be able to see everything from where we started due to limitation, especially when you go to advanced, where your file can loop over and over. So what now? A log file can be used to capture everything without limits. Wherever you see here in the results window, can be captured in log file. And what else? You can also share the log file to a colleague or a mentor, because sometimes you may practice your STATA and you see those errors, you get confused, but no one to help you out because maybe your mentor is not around. But what you can do, you can record everything through log file. Since the log file is a file just like any other, you can attach this to email you share with your mentor or a colleague to see the entire process which you have been through. So if there is somewhere to update based on your code flow and the results, he or she can recommend. So this enables them to exactly see what results you have obtained and what errors has occurred from there. Log files can be created in two formats. We have SMCL, which is STATA markup and control language, and you have formatted text or plain text format, which is .log. So the other one is .smcl. This one can only be opened by using STATA viewer window, while the other one can be opened by any text editor. In a log file, we'll have to use 4 kinds of command: log using, log close, log off, log on. Log using is used to open the log file. Log close is used to close the session of that log if you want to print those results. Log off will be used to suspend the session, which is temporary closing, and log on can be used to resume the session after log off. So here we'll see what is the use of SMCL. This SMCL, this one, since it is opened by using STATA format, it keeps everything neat as it appeared in results window. So if you need your mentor to see everything as it appeared in the results window, including the colors, the red color for errors and the results, then you save your log file in SMCL. But now this is only for STATA users because these are the advantages. The disadvantage is you cannot open this in Notepad or WordPad text edit. So if you share your log file with someone who does not have STATA software, or he is not capable in using STATA software, they will be in trouble because they will not be able to open this. So even though the structure of opening is very standard. So that is the disadvantage. So the log file, the .log, come to solve this. It is not a default, so you can open it with any text file, but the disadvantage of this, that good looking appearance of the results will get lost. It does not have that native STATA font colors and special formatting. So let us see this, how we can export results window to log files. Export results window content to log file. Export. So this will be number, after Excel, this will be content number what? Excel number 5, this will be 6. Export result window contents to log files. Log file. Number 1, export to STATA markup. It's called SMCL. STATA markup and the control language. Markup and control language. This one, how can you do this? I have shown it here. You have 2 options. I will always write replace because we're exporting files just like any other file. So the command is log using, log with the helper using. You put your file name, and then I put in my replace, although you can also use modify if you don't want to overwrite the existing file. You just need to append to add another content. So you can use replace, but always, since we are rerunning the entire do file, it is recommended to use replace unless you are running them in a command window. So we can specify this option SMCL. This is number 1. Or you can declare SMCL as an extension and ignore it using it as a log file. So here, first of all, I will call my data. I will keep using the default. I'll keep using the default frame. So I want my default frame to hold the auto data. So here, number 1, I will say log using, and then you put your file name. my results 1, for example, my results 1, comma, replace, then since it is SMCL, I put that extension SMCL. Specified as option. And now here, this will open my log file. So what? Let me type one command here, for example. Even this one, I can make it be part of my log file if I want my mentor to see everything. Here I can do my commands like tabulate, tab rep 78, rep 78, tab rep 78. I can do another command like summarize price and the length, for example. And then after all the process, I close my log file. So like this. That is the first option. So you'll find that even the status of log to open, it is started from here, then it is closed here. So this is what I have from results window. Let me do the second option, then I will open together, all of them together. I'll open all of them together. The second option is specified as extension. So I'll put this as 2.smcl. So I'll remove it from here. So the same thing. This is the first kind of log file. So when I go back to my results window, I'll see here my results. And I double click this, they will be open. It will ask the program to open. Only say STATA, say OK. So here you see wherever the style you see in the results window, they are captured here. Doesn't matter how many are they. If there is error, let me include the error also, for example. Let me say here, summarize maybe price, because that command will throw error. You see this error here, command summarize is unrecognized. So when I go to my results 2, okay, shall we make this be opened? If I double click this now, you see, even that error, it is seen here with the colors and the hyperlink, the blues. So I can even click here to try to go to locate for error. So even though your mentor is not the one who has used your computer, still can be able to help you out with the SMCL. So that is the advantage of this file. But as you have seen, you need STATA software to open them. The second approach is to use text. To use text, here you have 3 choices. Number 1 is to specify text as the option. So here I'll put it as my results 3, text as the option. Number 2, text as the extension. Text as the extension. So here I'll put it as 4.text. Number 3, use log extension. Use log extension. All this will result into text. So this will be 5.log. All these 3 will serve the same purpose. Execute all these 3 all together. So when I go to my results window, I see them here. Where is my results? Let me check what went wrong. Oh, file log already open. That is another challenge. Here, when we encounter error, when you have encountered the error, STATA could not move to close this log file. So due to such kind of a scenario, STATA cannot open another file while it is still open. So what you are supposed to do when you see this error, first of all, is to close. You say log close. You can just write it in command window. Log close, like that. So when you do that, I can start this afresh. Here, no problem. But when I reach here, I'll have the same problem. I'll have the same problem. Because this is unrecognized, then STATA will not close that log. So what you can do, I can run this manually and then close. I can finalize the last command manually because the log could not be able to close. Then I summarize, I run the rest of the part, including close. As the last part does not have error, so no problem. Still has error. I think I copied this error as well. As for this one, I can comment out to avoid the failure of closing my log file. Log file already open. So number 1, you can close first, and then rerun. Or you can just run after log using. Instead of starting from log using, I would start from here, since the file we already open. But you would like it to close and then start afresh. So now we're okay. So when I go back to this, you will now see my results. The one which I have used the extension, we don't have those privilege of colors now. Even the summarize, you see them here. But if I open this, the one which is written .text, you see that the problem of extension which I have used the .text, but rather preferable use dot. You can specify .text, but when it comes to extension, use txt. Use txt. Use txt. When it comes to extension, use txt. Like that now, you see, okay. When it comes to extension, use txt. Oh, no. No. Do not use this. We should use log. I tried it somewhere, it works. It is log. .txt will bring some thing which is unpreserved. So either you specify text or you specify .log. Now you see the problem here. This is the error, yes, but you don't see the error message because I could not. Let me do it in this way till here. Log close will this be able to capture this time around? Let me ignore this. It's supposed to capture everything. No, the message is not printed because I have commented. I was waiting for the message here. Was commented out. So first of all, if log is open, you'll see it here. Log is on. Always you see it here. So if you see it there, first of all, say log close. So now log it is open. And then I can start afresh from here. And start afresh from there. So you see this. So when I open that 5, I could also see error. I'll see error here, but I don't have those colors and I cannot use hyperlink. So this is the side of log. This is still a concept of export. And now I'll finalize with use of log off and on. Log off and on. What is the use of log off and on? For this one, I would prefer to use the last option. Log off and on, this will suspend log file for a moment, like here log 6. I'll call out to 2. I'll remove this. But when I reach somewhere to one of the commands, I've said it here. Maybe I write code book, for example. I say log off, temporary suspending, temporary suspending log file. And then I write the command here like code book. And any command from there. So if now I need the other command like summarize to be captured in log file, I should resume by writing log on. So here, resume log file. This part will not be captured in log file. So wherever you need to suspend some of the command, like if now I run this entire log file, when I come to results window, let me close this first because I see it there. Due to errors, then it keeps pushing like that. So when it comes to results window, here, results window, check this out. You see, the log go up to this point, but when it starts from codebook and the results under codebook, this one you will never see them in a log file because they have been suspended. So let me open it here. If I open this one, you'll see all part of codebook is not here. So it will just tell log off, it end up here, and then it has been resumed from here, log on. It has been resumed from there. So that is how it works. So wherever you don't need anything to appear in your log results, you can suspend them temporarily by using log off and then resume them by log on. You continue until the last part. This is the part of the log files. Most of the time when you produce tables, if you don't put them to standard formats like Excel, nowadays you have D tables, you can use this as shortcut to share all necessary results with someone with no STATA software. in his or computer installation. So that is about log close. The last session for today is global path specification. Because we are managing files, it is very important to understand the idea of global path. Here, the global path, simply we use the global path, and I think I need to edit this. We use STATA globals to manage file path instead of CD, change directory command. Remember, I've started with this change directory when we are starting importing data. It is usually recommended and the best practice in professional data analysis. The use of change directory, you force data to constantly change its working environment. If you split your project into subfolders like raw, do file, output, graphs, you will be forced to keep changing directories back and forth. To use the globals will define your folder location once at the very top of your do file, and the STATA will then remember this absolute path as shortcuts. And this will enable you to import and export files from any folder at any time without ever changing your working directory. A STATA global macro is defined by using global command, and it can be called by using the $sign. Now, you see the problem once you have here. All files, all imported files and exported files are present in one folder. So this is a mess, because by chance also you can overwrite the original file if you save them by using the same file, the same name. So you are always vulnerable to distort your original data. This is the case. So if now I have my sub data, sub files, like this case here, which I have prepared. I have prepared one case here. I have several files here, subfolders. I have do files, raw data, clean data, output graph. What is the standard approach? You put your organized do files, all of them here, and then you come to put your raw data here, all data which are in raw form here, and then the processed data will be stored in clean data, and then the outputs will be stored in output data, like those log outputs, log files, and whatever. And then if you have graph in your analysis, for example, you need to put it in a graph. Now the problem of changing directory, if I want to do it right now, if I want to do it now, what will happen? I'll have to do this, change directory, to call this raw data, all the raw data. I'll have to write that change directory. And then after change directory, I write dir. I see my files, like maybe the health data. I import this data. Import limited, comma, clear, for example. Once I'm done with importing my data, maybe I perform a number of manipulation, including, let me say, I want to remove the last three columns, maybe from here, RBG to last. I want to remove this. We're going to learn about dropping data later on, but to cement this concept, I drop this. I drop this. So I have modified my data, and any kind of data modification we do. Now I want to save this data. I want to save this data. If I write the command save here, it will go and overwrite this data right away from there if I use the file name. So I will be forced either to change this name. If I want to export, although I can save, but you can export it as delimited. If you export it with delimited, it will overwrite this. So what I was supposed to do is to write another change directory again. Change directory again. And now which directory? Directory of clean. You see now this procedure. The directorate of clean. So when I save my data, health data.dta, when I save my data.dta, this time around, my data will come here to clean. Now, what is the problem of this? If I want to go back to load another data, I will need to switch to this directory again by saying cd. cd, and then here I'll say use EAC, for example. Use that one, comma clear. So now you see this back and forth of changing directory. Sometimes if you forget to change directory, you will encounter a number of errors. So the smart way, here should write problem of cd. Problems with cd in switching directories. So what is the smart way of doing this? The smart way of doing this is create a global path. Create a global path. The idea of global, it is a macro. We'll face this when we go to STATA advanced, not even intermediate. But since specifying global path is easy and direct, we can just do it. How can we specify global path? Number one, locate the area of your subfolders like this one. It means there is a main folder, which is STATA training here. So once you reach here, create a parent global, like this one. So if I copy this, this is going to be our parent global. So you write, the command is a global. You can write any name here. You can write main, you can write base, as my mentor Abdallah always do, but you can write any name, even your name if you want, but you'll go with main. And here you put double quotes, and then you put that path. If I execute this, my global path is created. Since my global path is created, can I see, how can I call this path now? How can I call this path? This path, since it captures string information, you can capture it by using $sign. You put $signs, quotes, $sign, then global name. If I say this, display this, you'll see that path. The path is captured. So what now? Once you do that, you can always use dir, just like what we did with cd, but now you will say the directory of only this path. You want to see the files here. So you see this dir, it will give you that main folder. So most of the time we don't need something like this. I need to see those subfolders within STATA training. So always when you create your global path, remember to add another backslash here. So I will run this. This one display to see your path, to see complete path. And when after I run this, now when I write dir, instead of seeing the main folder STATA training, I will see the folder canned or folder within STATA training, which are this one. Why this is important? Because now I can copy this from here. So once you manage to create the main file, now I can create subfiles. Create subfolders, global path. Create subfolders, global path. How? This one is the same approach. Remember, the standard of creating global path is like this. You write a global path, then you write your global name, then the path to folder. So why did we started with the main? Because each time we don't want to go back to drive C to start afresh. So here, when I come here, I put the main. I put in main, and this is path for do file. Path for do files, for example. I want to create the path, the address of reaching up to do files, to reach up to here. Why that is important is like this. Once I put a main here, and then I'll put this backslash, it means what? STATA will retrieve this path first from global, because this one holds the whole path. And then I will add my destination ID. So before this, I have to put name, do file, do files. You can just put it like that. You can just write them in full, do files, whatever. So what is the path to reach do file? I'll always go back here to dir. So once dir display this, I come to copy this because these are the files which are in there. So they are here. Remember, I will always add this backslash. Why? Because I want to see those content within do file. So dir, I put my $. If you don't put this, STATA will not recognize this as a global path, but rather it is just like any other string which is enclosed with the quotes. So even if we put here dir, it will never work. Just to say not found. So to be recognized as path, you have to start with $, to call for this path. So that is dir. So if I want to see the complete path now, you can just say here display this to see the whole path. You just say display that. STATA will display the entire path from first to last. What do we have double slash here? Recall that we ended with a slash here and we started with a slash here. So they will also be double, no problem for STATA. So that is for do file. How can I create a path for raw data? Path for raw data. And once more, I will say dir main, or if it is still visible, copy this. Copy this. Raw data. And I'll say here raw. So after this, if I write dir before this, let me remove this. You see the disadvantage of this. If you say dir, STATA will just display this file here, to raw data. But most of the time when I write dir, I prefer to see the files because I want to copy the file names. So I always add this to locate the file names like this. So this will be my practice. After creating the global, I always add this path here. So I have 3 more paths to create, or just copy paste now. This one for final data, this one for output, this one for graph. So here, after raw data, let me do it like this. I will copy this. We have the clean data. So I'll copy the clean data. I'll go and replace it here. And I will copy the outputs. I'll go and replace it here. And I will copy the graph. And I will go and replace it here. After replacing, remember to change the names, because if you leave them like this row, what STATA will do will overwrite. So this is for clean data. So I can just write here clean. And the same global name will be passed here. This is output data. So remember to write output, and I prefer to shoot the shorter version name, output, as my path. Although you can use the full name. And this for graph, this is for output results. For graph, for graphs, output. So I can write it as graphs, and I'll call it here. So when I run this entire do file, this one now, all my globals now are okay, no error anywhere. So now, how can I use this global path in execution? Now you can recall this problem here. Global path for import and export. Because what we did here, we changed directory, then we import. We changed the directory. Then we import. We changed directory, then we import. We did manipulation, and then we changed the directory before export. So global path for managing import and exports. I will update this slide later. Managing import and export. What he will do here for managing import and export. Now, since my data are coming from raw, so I'll just put here dir $sign raw. I will see my data there. My data from here. So now I want to import this healthy, for example, just like what you did before. So what you do here, you say use comma clear. But this time it will go to my directory. So what I do here, I will specify this. So what STATA will do, will take the complete path from raw and append it here. So it's like I'm specifying the entire path to reach this data. So without changing directory, this will always work. I have called that data, not STATA format. Oh, thank you. See it here. I have used the command use while the data is text. So what I have to use is to say import delimited. Import delimited. So you see that one. And those commands which I have used previously, those commands which I have used previously to drop, where are those? Here, drop that one. Then I'll drop this. Maybe I drop that one. And then you perform any other form of manipulation as you wish, but at last, remember we said save. Save what? We are forced to change directory, then save this data. Change directory, then save this data. As for this time, you don't need to change directory. You write your save. Here I'll put health data 2. And here now, I will specify the global of export, the clean version, this one. I want my data to go to clean. I want my data to go to clean. So you do it right, just like that. So here, I can hold this with ease. I can just say here, import delimited, then drop up to export without changing directory, and everything will be there. See here from clean. The file is there, health data 2, without switching, change directory, and whatever. So that is the style for everything. Here I can say for managing graphs and output, for example, graph and outputs. How can I use a global path in managing output like log files? You remember the issue of log files? We did it here. So I can come here and say, as long as we're dealing with the files, log using. I put in my file name. My file name, I can say here my results. My results.log, comma, replace. But now it can go to my current working directory. I want this to go to output. Since I want to go to output, I put that backslash there, and then where is the path of output? The path of output is here. The path of output is here. So I can call everything I want from there. I come here and say, import raw data. Now you see, the output, I want them to go to output folder. I take the data from raw. I do my stuff here, and maybe summarize so and so. Maybe summarize OMRE and BMY, for example. And then I say log close. Log close. So here I have used the output folder and I have used the raw folder without switching the directories. And when I go there, I'll find everything in place. The raw data fetched from here, but the output now went to output folder. It is here. Just like that. And the last thing I can manage for graph, graph export before managing do files. Graph export, export graph, for example. What is my current directory? Raw data. If I want to export a graph, for example, assume that I have called the data. Let me check here. So it's use auto, comma, clear, comma, clear. And I create a graph here, which is called graph bar over rep 78. We are going to learn this when we reach to the data visualization. When you reach data visualization, we're going to learn this. But the idea here is how should I capture graph. So you see, you have your graph here, yes, but this graph is in STATA memory. How should I capture this in file? You capture this in file by saying graph export. Export graph export. And then you put the file name. My graph, for example, graph1. Graph1 dot maybe png, comma, replace. As long as you are exporting, always replace will be there. This one will go to current directory. Your command is okay, but what is your current directory? It is raw data. So graph comes to raw data, which is something very unclean to organize your workflow. So what you're supposed to do here, export this to global. Go to current directory. You're supposed to do is to export this to global. Use global path. What is the path of graph? What is the path of graph? You go back to your global path, this one. You copy alongside with the $sign. So I put it here. So this time, if I command graph export, it will go to the graph folder. It will go all the way to graph folder. So everything stay organized. Everything is organized. The graph go to graph like that. Oh, sorry. And the last thing is to manage do files. Why did we have the do files in the first place? All right. This one. You can use global path to manage do file. You can use a global path to manage do files. For example, assume I have these do files. I will move them for learning purpose. I'll move them for learning purpose. Let me move some of the do files here. Practice. These do files. Day 1, day 2, and day 3, for example. Let me move them to this folder here of do files. So what is the use of global path once more? I can come here and say dir, my $sign, let me pick the one for do files. Do files here. You can pick this. dir. So I see here the list of my do files. What is the use of this? I can copy these files, and I can write here the command do or run. Do or run, all the same. And the other one I will use run. Day 2. Run, so you can either use a do or you can use a run, don't worry. So what is the use of this? I will ask this, you go to, because if I command this now, what do you see? Error, the file not found, because the default we're in practice data. We are in practice data, that is the current default. So you ask this to go to global path, to specify the complete thing. When I run this instead of open one do file after another to execute, what you do, you can create all your do files, and you can create one do file which is called the master to run all other do files. Like here, I have executed all these do files together. It was made possible because of the global path. So wherever you have files which can be utilized in STATA, be it do files, be it exported data, imported data, as long as it is a file, global path can always help you to manage that task. This now mark the end of today's presentation. Unless there is a question, inatosha kwa leo na kwa kuexport. Thank you. Kuna mwenye swali? Jamani, tupo kweli?
Tupo.
Tupo.
Kuna mrejesho?
Nondo nzito, nondo ni nzito sana. Nashukuru.
Natakiwa ukatulie taratibu uanze kudigest.
Kama hiyo pati ya mwisho kwa kweli so much interest.
Kila siku huwa nahakikisha nawaletea ka surprise kamoja.
Umetuweza.
Basi niwashukuru, kama kawaida vitu vitapanda kwenye na huku swali ni just thank you. Okay, see you on next Saturday inshallah.